The February 2022 update is here for Back 4 Blood. And there's a lot to talk about, a lot of changes. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the patch notes here and tell you why things matter and how you can actually imagine things happening in a game based off of what you read here. Also, I spent quite a few hours with it already, so I can tell you some of the things that the patch notes aren't necessarily going to tell you. So let's get straight into it here, into the new features. And I'm going to be up here because I feel like this is the least intrusive place for me to be. So streamer mode is here, so this makes it so it'll mute the audio that is copywritten, which is nice for people like me. Stay together. This is actually a really cool thing where if you are in a group and you reach the end of the act, usually what that would do is it would disband everyone and you'd have to manually find each other. Well, now there's just a stay together option, which is cool. One of the really big things is that Walker got reworked. He got super reworked, and I actually really like Walker now, when I always viewed Walker as kind of lower tier before this. So what they did with Walker was they removed the increased accuracy he gets when he gets a headshot. And instead, they replaced it with something that's kind of like Marked for Death. So now when Walker pings something, it'll get the red outline like Marked for Death does. Except it also makes it so that creature does 10% less damage than it would otherwise. So in my mind, what this means is the Walker now has 10% flat damage. He gives everybody a little bit of HP, and he makes it so everybody on the team can see a Ridden that is maybe hidden in the fog, or if nothing else, it makes it so that everybody focuses on one target at once, which helps with team firing. This thematically makes sense on Walker, but it also is just so helpful compared to the little bit of extra accuracy that he was getting. Increase the amount of decks that you can have to 16 instead of 8, which is very helpful because 8 decks is just way too limiting. Honestly, I can't really see myself really needing more than 16, so I think this is a perfect number. Players now earn supply points after failing a mission, so for all you people that lose a lot, I guess this is good. No, this is a nice change. Supply points after failing a mission, so if anything goes wrong, it's not like your time was lost for nothing. Fixed a couple of bugs. Fixed an issue that caused weapon fire rates to not always be accurate. I don't think this was actually fixed, so you can kind of scratch this one. I think that there's still problems with this one. Fixed campaign objective items being dropped on use. So before you would have a 2x4 and you go to put it on a window and, oh, I dropped it. Well, now that's apparently fixed. And then there's going to be certain stuff here that I guess I didn't really care about, so I'll skip over things that I feel like aren't really a big deal. So if you see like, why didn't you talk about that? It's because I didn't think it was a big deal, okay? Like this one, players can now interrupt firing by reloading. I didn't realize that this is something that wasn't already in the game, because I guess I always just stopped firing anyway before I went to reload. Okay. T5 grenade crates are now open by default. So my buddy Rourke went into body dump and did not see crates already being opened by default. So this also seems like something that's a little iffy. I'd have to test it myself, but based on what Rourke told me, this isn't actually the case. If it was the case, this would be a huge debuff to, or nerf, I should say, to body dump's difficulty. Because the only part that was really kind of put you in a vulnerable position with T5 or body dump is when you had to go pick up more T5 grenades. Because what you would typically would do is you would take your T5 grenade and then throw it at a crate, so you had a little bit of zone of protection. And during that time, you're opening up another crate for more T5 grenades. And during that time, even though common aren't going to hit you because you exploded the area around it, you would still be vulnerable to things like stingers or hawkers or stalkers. But if all the crates are intended to be open now, that makes it so you don't really ever have to stop and you just keep moving the whole time, which severely nerfs the difficulty on body dump. So we'll see what's going on with that. It's shotgun ammo pickup from crates increased to 60 from 25, so this will be really nice for you AA12 users or pretty much any shotgun user. It was kind of weird how low it was before, but 60 is a huge buff. So smile shotgun. And rifle ammo was also increased. Players are now able to hit the Berserker's weak spots with melee weapons. I don't understand this line in the patch notes because you always could anyway, so I must be missing something. Global difficulty damage increases no longer affect friendly fire damage. So the way I read that is Veteran and Nightmare are going to have the same friendly fire, but at the same time, if you go and you read the differences between Veteran and Nightmare in the actual game, it says that Nightmare has more scary friendly fire. So I also don't really know what that's about. Quick play no longer puts players into finale maps. So that's going to be things like Sound of Thunder or Grave Danger or Body Dump. I don't know if I really like this change. Sometimes it's really nice to get somebody right at the end in case people dip or something happens. So there's probably a good reason for it. I just don't understand what that reason is. General card updates. This is really funny. So the developer note says the following changes are made to make slow and steady combat more viable. And let me tell you, yes, kind of, but at the same time, absolutely not. And we'll get into it. So evasive action refactored to defensive maneuver. This makes it so you have more damage resistance for 3 seconds after taking a lot of damage. Cool. Before, evasive action would give you a speed boost. And now this is going to be something to give you a little bit more damage resistance. Cool, I guess. But now, to completely contradict what this just said here, let's talk about On Your Marks and Amped Up. So let me just go ahead and tell you how this works, because it gets really silly really quickly. So stay with me while I tell you how silly it gets. So in the example of Amped Up used to give you temporary HP when you opened up the safe room door. Instead, what it does now is anytime a horde is triggered, you and everybody on your team gets 25 temporary health. So, shoot a door, 25 temporary health. Scare some birds, 25 temporary health. Have the ogre come in on 1-2, aka a story horde that you have to deal with no matter what, get 25 temporary health. Shoot the little nest nodes, get 25 temporary health. So this is going to include hazards that are on accident, and it's going to also include hazards that are built into the story. Also, it includes cards that trigger hordes, like Tallboy hordes, Reeker hordes, just regular onslaught hordes. All of those are going to make it so you get more temporary health. Now, not only do you get 25 temporary health per horde, this card stacks with other players on the team. So, if 4 people are running Amped Up, that means anytime a horde is triggered, your entire team, every single one of you, will get 100 temporary health apiece. Basically, turning it into a situation where sometimes you just want to eat a horde because you want more HP. Because in the past, you could be like, oh, God, what am I going to do? I have 10 health left. Oh, God, if a horde happens, I'm in trouble. Not anymore. May as well just trigger everything and piss everything off. Heck, it even works if you have a Reeker that you are too close to. Because, you know, if a Reeker explodes too close to you, a horde is triggered. It works on that. You know what you can do? You could be Evangelo, always having breakouts, run up to a sleeper and be like, take me, and then break out of it right away, and then at the end of it have way more health than you started with. Oh, also, Amped Up still only costs 275 copper if you find it in a card shrine. Amped Up is easily, by far, nothing's even close, the most broken card in the game right now. And not only that, there's another card that's just like it called On Your Marks. On Your Marks used to give you a speed boost as soon as you left the safe room. Instead, what it does now is the same idea. Anytime a horde is triggered, you get all this crap. So, again, you could stack this. So 15% of your max ammo, 10% move speed while firing, 25% reload, and 25% weapon swap speed for 30 seconds on horde trigger. So, this means you'll get, if 4 people are stacking it, you'll get 60% of your ammo anytime there's a horde. And let me tell you, you are not using over half your ammo on a horde. So this is basically infinite ammo. You also get move with speed while firing, so I really want to try this with Hellfire because it's probably ridiculous. You get extra reload. I'm not sure if the reload stack, but in theory, you have 100% extra reload speed and 100% extra swap speed. So if every player, here, every single one of you watching this video, however many of you watch this, if every single one of you put this on, you will never lose again. And even in your quick plays, if every single person in quick play is playing this, you guys could be having your dog chew on the controller on the opposite side of the room, have your TV turned off, and, I don't know, go take a crap on the toilet, and by the time you end back up, you're probably still alive, and you might even be winning the level because somebody would have figured it out for you. It makes it trivial. It's so silly how strong this is. Now let's talk about some of the other things they did. So shooting gloves got refactored. So this is what it was before, but then they added 2 things. So you have recoil control and accuracy. So this is actually really nice for people that like to do weapon swap builds because now this is just a better card than it was before. And recoil control is nothing to scoff at. Yeah, that gets very nice. I am singing the praises of compensators, and I have been for a while, and this basically just makes it even better because you could take a Scar that goes and kicks up like this, and suddenly you have a laser gun, which is awesome. The next card that got changed here is Front Sight Focus. So instead of just having 20% accuracy, it now has extra weak spot damage and aim speed, which is just a nice buff, just makes the card better. And then speaking of other reworks here, Mom's Revive now fully heals the target. I have not tested a whole lot of Mom's Revive, but some people were saying it's being a little weird, but from what I saw so far, it's working as intended, and now it will also fully heal a target. A really big change is that Hoffman's ability now includes a 1% chance to find offensive items on any kill. Team ammo is increased to 15% instead of 10. So, in my mind, where this gets really interesting is on levels like T5 or the Diner, where you can place a lot of razor wire, and the razor wire will kill things before they even touch you. And if Hoffman lays down the razor wire, it's going to drop items. Another really great way to utilize razor wire, by the way, is if you have Knowledge's Power on, you will see enemies coming towards you, So if you want to kind of have a scout razor wire from behind you, you'll know if a mutation's sneaking up on you because you have a razor wire there. That's a really nice way to use knowledge as power. And not only is that going to be a good use for this, but just being able to drop a pipe bomb or drop a grenade or, again, any offensive item. That's huge. Even if it's only a 1% chance. You go through, I don't know, I think, especially with all these new hordes we can have now, it's not uncommon for somebody to kill at least 100 things in a level. So on average, you're going to get at least one offensive item, if not more. What I'm not sure about with the full health thing, I really should test this, is if it gets rid of all the trauma on them too. That'd be really insane. Ooh. Ooh. Admin reload no longer has a trade-off. So admin reload's the thing where you swap your weapons around and then they'll reload while they're stashed. And it used to have, I think, a 15% ammo trade-off. You lose 50% of your max ammo capacity. Doesn't have that anymore, so that's nice. Ammo for all now adds to team damage. So basically, ammo for all became exactly the team ammo card that you could buy in the shop. But if we go ahead and look at ammo for all here, it is this card. So ammo for all, it was this one. So they just added that little extra team damage. Also, kind of on that topic, what do you guys think about team ammo in the shop? Is it worth 1,500? Is it worth 1,500 copper to get 1% team damage and 10% team ammo capacity? Intuitively, I think the answer is going to be no, but I'm curious what you think would be better if they made it so there's more team damage or more of something else on it, or if they made it cheaper. Which way do you think that could be better? Or do you just think it's fine? Other card changes. They changed a few of the ammo cards. So ammo pouch now has an extra thing for bullet damage. It used to just be ammo capacity. Now it's also bullet damage. They made it so that it no longer has a trade-off on ammo belt. So I think the trade-off before might have been stamina efficiency. Well, now instead of having stamina efficiency go down, you just get extra reload speed. So this is really nice for ammo belt. That's a huge buff to this card. And ooh, they did a bunch of changes to extra pockets. So all the pocket cards that would just increase your slots by 1, a lot of them have a bonus attached to them now. So instead of just increasing your offensive slot by 1, you now have an extra 25% swap speed on grenade pouch. But on the double pouches, they used to go ahead and reduce your damage by 10%. They got rid of that. And instead, they slow your movement speed by 5%. So if we go ahead and take a look over here, you'll see what I'm talking about. If I type in the word offensive, they changed a lot of this. So now there's this little extra thingy right here for the swap speed. But again, they went ahead and changed it so that you lose move speed on all these double pouches, which, oof. And pretty much anything that has a double now reduces speed by 5. And then there's also some other new bonus on the +1 slot. So in the case of the support items, you now get extra trauma resistance. And then I think in the case of the utility ones, you get extra use speed. Sure enough, extra 10% use speed on belt clip. And then again, you lose move speed when you get 2 pockets. Another fun one is mandatory PT. So mandatory PT used to increase the stamina of everybody on the team by 15% per mandatory PT that was played. Now what it does is it only increases it by 10%, but it also increases stamina regen by 10%. So what we did tonight was all 4 of us ran mandatory PT. So we had 40% extra stamina on everyone, but we also had 40% extra stamina regen. So all 4 of us just ran combat knives and pretty much ran through Act 3. It was really silly. Mandatory PT is really fun if you're in an organized group now. Hellfire decreased the movement speed from 3% from 5%. Hellfire is the card that increases your movement speed while firing. It's still 45% when firing. They just did the while not firing part of it. They brought that down to 3. Stamina now gets a flat 10 instead of 10%. In case you're wondering what the stamina card is, it's literally just the basic stamina card. The little blue one. It used to be 10%, now it's only a flat 10. Compound interest updated to affect the whole team. The reason why they changed this is because they didn't want people dropping copper all to one person. What I'm not sure about is if it stacks with the whole team. I'm assuming it does. So this would mean that it is 20% potentially extra copper for everyone, as long as everybody plays the card. I don't know whether to call this a nerf or a buff, because it really just depends how you think about it. So yes, if everybody uses the card, 20% is more than 10%. However, that's 4 cards being used on your team, rather than just one person playing a card for 10%. Now, if you want to reach the 10%, you have to have 2 cards played. So it really just depends how you look at it. Nerf and buff. This is a huge one. Battle Lust now benefits from healing efficiency. So if you don't know what Battle Lust is, it is the card that makes it so that whenever you kill something using a melee weapon, you gain health. You gain 2 health. So melee doc, let's go. Also, there was another reason why we were able to have everybody running melee, and that's actually due to medical expert. But pretty much says what it is. So if you have 100% healing efficiency, instead of having your melee kills heal for 2 health, they're going to heal for 4. So it's a huge buff for melee characters. You love this change if you love melee. Another big one they changed here was Face Your Fears. So to really illustrate what this change is it says it increases the trigger range from 2 meters to 2.5 meters. So sure enough, you go ahead and you take a look here. It says 2.5 meters now. And the reason why that matters, I've talked about this in a couple of different videos, but if you take a look at the melee weapons, something you might not have known about them was they had different ranges. So in the case of the machete, you swing and you are swinging in front of you for 2 meters. The hatchet, same thing. You have a 2-meter range. However, weapons like the bat and the fire axe had a 2.5 meter range, meaning that you could go ahead and hit something and kill it 2.5 meters away from you, meaning that Face Your Fears wasn't activating if you were using a bat sometimes. So this makes it so all the melee weapons are going to always have Face Your Fears working. Utility Scav now properly highlights barbed wire. I guess I wasn't doing that before. By the way, Utility Scav is one of the best economy cards in the game, in case you didn't know. Stop sleeping on it. It is so amazing. Lots of toolkits, lots of stun guns. I recommend you get on your attack stun guns, and then extra razor wire. Lots of extra stuff all the time, stuff that you're actually usually buying every single level anyway. Utility Scav is a great economy card. Optics Enthusiast no longer reduces your stamina efficiency. It used to reduce it by like 20% or something like that. Now it's just a flat 30% extra accuracy. Awesome card for the laser builds. I think the laser builds kind of went up a little bit with this patch. Trigger Control, added accuracy, precision on kills. Yeah, basically what they did was they took Walker's old thing that he had and they threw it onto this card. So there it is. Wooden Armor got a buff. Trauma resistance decreased to 30%. However, they also made it so you no longer take extra acid damage. So I do think this is a net buff for Wooden Armor. However, Charred are still the scariest common in the game right now. So do what you want with that. Really where I think Wooden Armor and, again, Body Armor got changed here too. No longer as a trade-off. Also changed the trauma resistance a little bit. We also have extra trauma resistance on that supply card. I think where these cards become something you might want to think about isn't just from the idea of I don't want as much trauma, but also from the idea of now that healing efficiency makes Battle Lust heal for more, since Battle Lust only heals regular health, if you have a lot of trauma, Battle Lust loses efficacy. So by having trauma resistance, you are less likely to inflict trauma damage upon yourself, making Battle Lust more useful for longer. So I think trauma resistance and Battle Lust and healing efficiency together all might be interesting on a melee build. I had Vanguard, I had Face Your Fears, and I had Battle Lust on as Doc, I think. And I was healing for 7 or 8 per hit. It was ridiculous. Overwatch distance increased from 15 meters to 10. And you might be wondering, well, what is Overwatch? I don't even remember. So let's just go ahead and take a look at it real quick. But if you don't remember, what Overwatch does is it gives you the capacity to heal your teammates with temporary health. So I type in Overwatch here. Kills from greater than 15 meters grant 5 temporary health to teammates within 15 meters of the target. It used to be teammates within 10 meters of the target. Now it's 15. So there's a wider radius in where you can actually heal people. So a little bit of a buff to this card. I like that. Antibiotic Ointment increases healing efficiency to 25 from 20. Also, it now gives 10 temporary health anytime you heal somebody with an item or ability. What I'm hearing so far from people is that this is bugged and that it only works once. I haven't tested it yet, but that's what I'm hearing. So it'll heal 10 temporary health one time, and then it never works again. So I'm assuming they'll fix that if that's what's going on. Kind of silly. EMT Bag now had its healing efficiency increased to 50% from 40, and it no longer reduces your stamina efficiency, so that's a really nice buff to this card. Needed because Field Surgeon got a huge change. Field Surgeon used to give you, I think, 60% healing efficiency, but it also reduced your use speed by 50%. They got rid of all of that. Now what Field Surgeon does is it causes you to heal 3 trauma anytime a medical accessory is used. So it's a great way to keep up on people's trauma now. What I'm really curious about and what I really want to test is if this were to work with something like group therapy. I doubt it would, but I really want to test that. I think that'd be really cool. Make sure you subscribe for all the weird things I want to test with this patch. There might be some really cool things. Medical Expert got a huge change, and this is actually part of what we did when 4 of us ran melee together. So this will heal the target anytime a medical accessory is used for 1 trauma damage. They also added 50% revive speed to it, but the most interesting part is they added team healing efficiency. So if all 4 of us Brand Medical Expert, that's an extra 60% healing efficiency that everybody on the team has, which, since all 4 of us were running melee, that got really, really useful with Battle Lust. Balance updates. So they changed a bunch of the weapons. And if you want to, the patch notes will be in the description, and you can see which ones got a little bit better in terms of their range and which ones got a little bit stronger with their damage, like the AA-12. But what I want to do for you is really just focus on things that are probably the most interesting out of this collection of things, okay? So let's go through a few of them, because some of them are pretty interesting. So I'm going to run over to the shooting range. And one of the big things is that the Belgian now has a faster reload time. So take a look. Much faster now by default. In fact, if you want to go ahead and see how fast this thing can go without having to even use cards. Ta-da! All I have is a reload mag on it. This thing shoots pretty fast. No cards. So probably gonna get pretty silly. Another thing that they changed, it's kind of a big deal, is the M16. The M16 shoots really fast now. Kind of an awesome gun now. Don't sleep on the M16 anymore, because the M16 always has been really good at accuracy, and it has always been really good with recoil. But now it also shoots real fast, and it actually does decent damage per bullet. And speaking of damage per bullet, they actually finally went ahead and buffed the M4. The M4 used to do 10 damage per bullet. Now it does 11. And it now has 30 bullets in the mag rather than just 25. Another thing that they changed is they actually changed something with the common, which is really interesting. Common heads used to be really weird and janky and had their own health pool and yada, yada, yada. I don't know what's all going on with it now, but basically what they did was what they show here now. So you see how I hit 11 right here? Well, they made it so that finally, if you hit something in the head here, it does double damage. Common now take double damage to the head. They weren't doing that before. There might be other things going on, but you'll see that if you use Knowledge's Power, that's actually happening now. So 22, 11, 22. So they fixed those really weird 10,000 HP bugs that they had on headshots before as well. Other things they changed the Tech 9. Basically, they just made the Tech 9 worse in every single way. They made it so it has a much wider spread. They made it so it takes longer to reload. And something kind of silly is, take a look at this. You see how I'm aiming right here where these 2 points meet? What you might see is if I do a couple of these, eventually it's not going to be where I shot. It might go somewhere else, like you just saw here. I aimed right here, but the bullet went up here, even while I'm aiming down sights. And not only did they do that to the Tech 9, they also did that to the Scar. And they also did that to the AK. So in practical use, I don't know how much of a big deal this is going to be. But it is kind of silly when I'm sitting here aiming down sights and then I aim right here and then I aim right here. And then you see how it actually didn't go where I shot. It went to the right. So you lose a little bit of accuracy. See how that one actually went down there? You see how that one went underneath. You see how this one went to the right. You see how this one is actually accurate. So this has always been a thing with some of these weapons. RPK has always had it really bad. But now it's on the Scar and it's on the AK. Again, probably not that big a deal, but it's definitely happening now and it's kind of silly. Other things they changed is they made it so the M249 does more damage. It used to be 13 per bullet. Now it's 14 per bullet. They also changed the Beretta to shoot faster, which you can just hear. It's like the M16. They made the burst faster. So this is a huge buff for this gun. And by the way, did you know that the M9 and the M9 Beretta actually have a built-in weak spot buff? So if I go ahead and I take 10 damage. So in theory, this should be 20 damage because it's doubled, right? But instead it's 22. So it's the Beretta and the Ranch Rifle are the only 2 weapons in the game that have an inherent weak spot multiplier that none of the other weapons have. So good for those guns, I guess. Spawning updates. Wandering specials now have a 12 to 18 second exit cooldown. I really don't know what this means at all. In my mind, it's when common or mutations just kind of leave during a horde, I guess. I don't know. That's what I would imagine it is. But there's a few different types of common or hordes or mutations, types of ridden. So there's the ones that called from a horde. There's roamers, so those are the ones that show up after not doing anything for like 2 minutes. They're like, hey, guess what? Here to ruin your day. Those guys. And then wandering are the ones that are ahead of you that aren't alerted yet. Those are the wandering ridden. And now these have an exit cooldown, so I don't know if this meant that those ridden would just leave sometimes, but now they don't leave as fast. I don't really know, to be honest. Bot positioning has been updated to prioritize player line of sight. I think what this means is they're no longer going to stand in front of you when you're trying to shoot. It's written in a way where they're going to try to stand in front of you when you shoot, which is what they already do. That is funny. Car alarms are no longer triggered by charred ridden, which is so nice. Oh my god. Hate to have to deal with a horde I didn't have to deal with before. But now, since Amped Up is here, who cares? It's just a horde, right? Reeker melee damage is reduced by almost half, so they're not going to punch you anywhere near as hard. The ogre can no longer spawn on Road to Hell, which it didn't very often anyway. Every once in a while it would, but can't do it anymore. T5 grenade cases can now spawn in more locations. So, yeah. Again, they were supposed to spawn open based on what it said earlier in the patch notes, but according to what Rogue told me, that's not happening, so. Swarm PvP updates. I can't tell you a whole lot about Swarm because I don't know a whole lot about Swarm, but what I can tell you about Swarm is that tall boys are ridiculously overpowered and they are the meta for a lot of people. And now they made it so tall boys aren't so good, which is good because tall boys were stupid. I'd have to play Swarm and learn a little bit more about it, but they did a bunch of nerfing to the tall boys. And they added a couple of more emblems and cool little pieces of art that you can buy in the supply lines. I bought a few of them already. They look cool. They said they fixed a bunch of issues regarding joining in on quick play and having your cards be all messed up when you join in. I haven't tested this a whole lot, but from what I'm reading here, finally, we're not going to have a bunch of weird bugs anytime we try to quick play, which is really, really nice. I haven't tried the quick play experience yet, but this looks promising. Doc's passive is now affected by group therapy's healing efficiency, which is really cool. So to me, that means her field bandages now proc group therapy. Fixed an issue where burn cards would persist after a team wipe. So from what I understand of what they changed with burn cards, a couple of things. One, apparently that. Two, they made it so that if you team wipe, you can actually play a burn card again. Where before it was one burn card per level. That's it. That's all you get. Now it's every time you team wipe, you can just play another burn card. Except for apparently Hell Can Wait. I didn't see this in action, but people were telling me that Hell Can Wait can only be played once. Not all 4 people playing it. They capped it now. So rip the 50 continue run that I wanted to do, but it looks like 1 Hell Can Wait per continue. Fixed an issue that prevented Glass Cannon from applying to weak spots. So Glass Cannon did have a problem with not always working on weak spot damage. That's been a problem since forever ago. I made the damage video a long time ago, and there are things that are wrong with it and things that are incorrect, partially because things just weren't working. And I didn't know all those different things, so I made the video and had a lot of people be like, I measured the pixels in your video and the pixels don't line up with what we think the values are. So after having people pixel measure my videos, I learned a lot more about how damage works. And one of the things I learned was that Glass Cannon was not working the way we thought it would. So now I think it works more properly. And now that I know a lot more about the stuff, what I can wonder about is if Glass Cannon is now proccing stumble properly, or if it's still not applying to stumble damage, because it was not. So I'm curious if this kind of lumps in stumbling, because if it does, that's a huge deal. And now in the other bug fixes here under general, there's some really, really cool things that they fixed, thank God. So one of the things that they fixed, which is so nice, is if somebody leaves a quick play, they don't take their upgrades with them when they leave. So let's say someone was in a match with me and they bought a quick item upgrade, they bought an offensive slot, and they bought a support item upgrade. Cool. Now, if that person were to leave, all of those upgrades that they bought would leave as well, which was terrible because you don't get those back. So this apparently fixes that, which is so nice. Vendors no longer display duplicates of items and attachments, which I guess I never really had a problem with that, but I guess they didn't want it that way. So you're not going to see 2 green Barretts right next to each other and they cost different prices. Fixed pings not going through the door frame of the prepper stash doors, so that's the tool rooms. They still have a couple other things to fix. They need to fix the safe room doors, like the ones that you spawn in. You can't ping through those. Also, I still think you can't ping through the machine gun when you're using it. If you want to ping stuff while you're on the machine gun or the minigun, you just ping the front of the minigun, which sucks. So I think this is a sign of more fixes to come. This is a really funny one to me. Cleaners will no longer say their boss fleeing lines when the hag is fleeing with a devoured teammate. Can you imagine the hag eats your teammate, then everybody else on your team is like, oh, she's running, we got her, chase her down. This is funny. Oh, here's a huge one. So all you minigun door cheesers out there, adjusted the collision of the minigun to be more narrow, so this makes it so tall boys and reekers aren't going to get stuck in a doorway. And I've already heard many stories of people trying to minigun cheese and they don't realize it's fixed and then they all die, and that brings me big happy. Don't cheese the doorways anymore, guys, because it's not going to work. You shouldn't have been cheesing them to begin with. Oh, this is a big one too. So fixed an issue causing horde timers to reset after a rescue pod spawns. So what you would see in this game is, let's say you're on Bob's Arm, or Handyman, I think it's called. And those have recurring 2-minute timers, or 2.5-minute timers for a horde. What would happen is, let's say somebody on your team dies outright, completely dead, and you have that horde timer going down. And oh god, the horde's coming here in 15 seconds, here it comes. But then somebody on your team respawns in one of those rescue pods on the wall. Well, that would reset that timer back all the way up to 2.5 minutes. And it wouldn't just do it on story timers, it would also do it on things like Tallboy hordes or Reeker hordes or Onslaught. It would just reset the timer for you. And there was many occasions where this could really save your butt. And it was a bug. And it's fixed. So if you're the only one left on your team and someone just spawned in and you want to save them, well, you still are going to have to deal with the horde now. So good luck. Where before you would have a little bit of an opening. So this is probably going to cause some runs to end, because it's gonna suck if you're all by yourself or you're down a teammate trying to deal with a horde. And now let's talk about a couple of things that aren't in the patch notes. Kind of snuck on by that I found out about, but there's probably more that I don't know about yet. One of which is that silver bullets got nerfed. 7.5 bullet damage now instead of 10% bullet damage. And let's go load into 1.1 and take a look at something really interesting. Oh, another thing, now that I think about it, I didn't even think to bring this one up. Charitable Soul. People told me that Charitable Soul now works with field dressings as well. Field dressings, again, being those bandages that Doc comes with. So pretty cool. Actually, I kind of want to try it real quick. All right, so let's test a couple of things here. Oh, they are trying to get out of my way, which is good. They keep moving around. They're trying to make it so that so that I don't accidentally shoot them. Cool. Now let me go ahead and use field dressings on Carly. So if I use field dressings on her, I did get Charitable Soul. Aha! Good to know. I was curious about it. And then I also have Field Surgeon on. So if I heal myself, I should restore some trauma. I should go back to 100. Sure enough. Nice. And now I have Poultice and Group Therapy on. So I want to see if Poultice is triggered by field dressings. It's really hard to heal them now because they try to run away and not be in front of you. Now, is her health going up? It totally is. So Poultice is now activated by a field dressing. So field dressings just got a huge buff. They're basically bandages now in terms of the things that they get procced by. That's really nice for Doc. And now on to some of the really weird, interesting things that they did not talk about. And some of them might be bugs. So you see all these written hidden this door? Right? He's really trying, isn't he? Now come take a look. You hear how it's still here? So these guys no longer trigger alarm doors anymore like they used to. Can I get the bots to do it for me though? So to me this kind of seems like a bug, but if I open this I have to deal with the horde now. So, oopsie poopsie. Don't know how that one got through. So watch out. Bring more toolkits. Maybe bring utility scav, because right now alarm doors. Oh boy. Now, one thing will still cause these to break, and that is mutations. Mutations will still break doors for you. But regular common, not anymore. Not really sure why. Now, a Ridden will break down a regular door, but they will not be able to break down an alarm door for some reason. Don't really know why. Oh, this is by far one of my favorite changes that they didn't tell anybody about in the patch notes. And I'm so glad they didn't, because it's just gonna... it's really gonna catch some people off guard. One of the things they changed, if you take a close look, is they changed some of the spots of the sleeper locations throughout all the maps. So... if you got used to where the sleepers could spawn, get ready. It's a whole new video game, because they changed them, and they changed a bunch of them. There'll be one that spawns right here sometimes, too. And on a bunch of different maps, you'll notice this. So I love the change. I think it keeps things a little fresh. But just be careful. The sleepers are in different spots now. And if you kind of take a peek here, you can see that Walker can mark stuff. You see the outline on things now. That's Walker's skill in effect. And also he's taking, or he does less damage now. So it's actually really nice considering he's a stinger. Lots of things have changed and I'm excited to see more of those things. Make sure you subscribe down below if you want to see me cover this stuff a little bit more in depth, because I'm sure there's things we're going to discover. Also, we stream just about every single night on twitch.tv/SwingPoynt. Links in the description and the top comments. Go ahead and check that out. And thank you guys. I know we were all hoping for DLC or a new difficulty mode. My guess is it's going to come next month. That's just what I'm assuming. It wasn't here this month. I'm assuming it's going to be next month. So hold on tight, play with the new things we got here, and we'll figure out some of the new metas that have erupted out of all this. So thank you guys. You guys are the best, and I'll see you in the next video that we do around here.